Here, we'd like to thank Jared and Selena for the food. I think most of the food we raised here, the watermelon we did not, but everything else came from our gardens. The purple potatoes are pretty exciting. How many of you was a first for eating purple potatoes today? They're more nutritious than the white ones. They have fancy chemicals in them that make them healthy. Now everybody's scared. Chemicals a swear word, right? Okay, it looks like everybody's here. We're going to have Jared Sorensen, the owner of the ranch here, come up and say a few words. And then we will proceed from there. Jared?
Well, thank you, William. Thanks, everybody, for coming to be here. My wife and I are blessed to steward and own this ranch here. We also have a ranch over the hill where all the cattle are. People think you're ranchers and like, where's the cows? So they're over there right now. Couple weeks we'll have a bunch over here again, but we are third generation here on this ranch. We have 9 children and some of them are running around here, but we're grateful that William's able to be here. We're really grateful for these students who come this summer, and they've been awesome. It's neat to see how much they learn and see their progress. And so I have a question for him. What's an entrepreneur? A creative person. What does an entrepreneur do? Okay.
Raising something from a lower state to a higher state.
Okay, yeah. So these guys, we had a class the other day on entrepreneurship, and my definition is taking something from a lower state to a higher state. So they've taken bare soil, and they put a lot of love and some seeds into it, and they've made some of the food that we've eaten here today and food that they've subsisted on. So they are entrepreneurs. And I think that that's what our country needs right now. We need people who will think for themselves and are independent, and so it's great. I'm grateful that we can support this cause. But enjoy your time here. If you guys have questions about the ranch, you can talk to my wife Selena and myself, or Weston. Weston will answer any question you have. He's our spokesman for the ranch. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Jared. Bernie, come up here. This is my wife, Bernie Lynn. This could never have happened without her. And I think it's a pretty cool thing that happened, so we're going to hear from her.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know that was going to happen today. So, I don't play an super active role in the teaching portion of this class, but I feel very privileged to be present during a lot of the learning that goes on, and I feel like most of it is my learning that goes on. I cry every year. I am floored by the amazing youth that have been with us this summer. You've done a stellar job with your children, and I'm so impressed with them. I hear a lot in the world today of people who are discouraged and afraid, and they listen to the news, which is always a mistake, and they feel like the world is falling apart and people hate each other, and there's a lot of sadness. But every week I come home from work, I work over in Utah, and I see the magnificence of what they have done with faith, hard work, and just care for one another and for the land. And I have a rich and deep hope for the future because of these amazing people. I feel very grateful to have been here and to watch them and to eat the food that they've raised and to see their growth and learn from them. So thank you for sharing them with us. Thank you guys for being here. I love you so much.
We love you.
Thank you, Bernie. Okay, this is the Georgic schoolroom. Georgic is an obsolete word in our modern world. It was formed 2,000 years ago by the Roman poet Virgil. Geo meaning earth, auric meaning work. So those who work the earth or work the land or farm the land or raise food from the land or raise livestock from the land and harvest things from the land, they have a better civilization than those who don't. That could be argued, but we're going to go with that definition today. The more we interact with the earth, the more human we become. So this was a class about becoming human. The Georgic tradition has thousands of years, all the way back to Hesiod in the Greeks. So we have thousands of years of history telling us that what I just said is true, that when we work with the earth, we become more human. These are humans right here. I don't know about the rest of you because I don't know you. But these people have become human this summer because they each have a garden that's 15 feet wide and 50 feet long. And they went out there and they worked and they toiled, and I stood back and watched them suffer. And they grew things. Did everybody see the turnip on that table right there? Somebody hold up that turnip. Whitney, stand up. Whitney grew that turnip. I think Whitney's garden struggled more than anybody else's garden. And she didn't even plant turnips. That was a volunteer. We had the students yesterday, and they were talking about their gardens a little bit. And I just said, what did you learn from your gardens this year? And Whitney said, I learned that you can have big plans. You can go out there and you can do everything right. And most of it still dies. But even with all of that, we get gifts. And that turnip's one of those gifts. That's an analogy of human life. We can try to do everything right, and sometimes life sucks, and it beats us down, and bad things happen, and we get up the next day, and we go back to work, because we are human. This is the message of the Georgic tradition. In this class, we have 5 pillars. The first pillar is the pillar of self-discovery. When you're working in a garden or anywhere in nature, you will learn who you are. And once you figure out who you are, that takes us to the second pillar, and then we need to develop ourselves so that we can serve other people in this world. The third pillar is homesteading skills. If we learn how to work with Mother Nature in harmony, then we can have the basics of our civilization. And we can set the foundations to do something great in our communities. The fourth pillar is ecological literacy. There is a massive famine in our modern world. People are, I want to say 100%, but that's not true because these people are here. And I personally know a few hundred other people who are ecologically literate. But the famine is a famine of ecological literacy. We're literate in math, we're literate in poetry, we're literate in driving a car, we're literate in crossing a crosswalk without getting run over, hopefully. But the humans, for the most part, are illiterate in ecology. And we think we have to fight against nature to grow food. And guess what? We grow a lot of food by fighting against nature. But the Georgic tradition teaches us that if we work with nature, now our food will be healthy. How many of you know somebody with a health problem? We need homesteading skills and ecological literacy so that we can have the healthiest food possible. The fifth pillar is solving a societal need. The first week in class, I asked these guys, what do you hate? We talk about a lot of emotions in this class because emotions are real, and I think it does our young people a disservice to not talk about them. So I said, what do you hate? Well, some of them didn't hate anything. But after a few days, they figured out that there were some things that could be better in this world. So the fifth pillar is to solve that societal need. But how do we solve it? Well, we've already done self-discovery, and then we do personal development, and then we come up with a plan to fix the thing we hate. Like Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. So each of the students are going to share briefly with us today something that they can do to make their world a better place. We talk a lot about changing the world in our class. And maybe we'll just change it for ourselves. And that's the most important. I think these students are going to change it for hundreds, possibly thousands. And there's a couple of students in here who are going to change the world for hundreds of thousands. I know that because I've got to know them and I watched them blossom from a bud wrapped in its sepals, and those sepals pulled back, and the beautiful bloom came out. And that's who you're looking at today. Tim, where are you? Stand up. Kirsty, where are you? Stand up. These are former students who graduated from this class in previous years. Thank you. The other ones are out changing the world, so they couldn't be here today. That's not a joke, by the way. So at the beginning of this year, it was last winter, all my students, it was weird because 100% of them, I talked to them because I haven't had that many. I've only been doing this 3 years. And I keep in contact with the students, and they all said, when can we come back? They were all begging to come back. It started as a one summer program, and I thought I need to allow these students to continue to grow in an environment like this, where it's peaceful, away from the pressures and the wretchedness of the world. They can come here with some quiet, and they can think, and they can listen, and they can hear. So I created a 4-year program. Let me just briefly tell you how that works. Year 1, you come in the summer, you get a garden, we teach you ecological literacy, and you feed yourself from that garden for the last couple of weeks, which is what they did. Year 2, 3, and 4, they're not in order, but you can come back, and depending on where you are in your personal development, you can choose in those years, and you can choose whatever you want within some bounds that I can actually help you with. One of them is to write a business plan. We have a couple of Year 2 students here you're hearing from today who wrote their business plan, and they're going to go out and do it. Another thing that we will be focusing on is classical education, so that you can learn to think. We don't learn to think really well as humans when we're taught in only specialization to do a thing. We need people specialized to do things, don't get me wrong. But we have a population of people who don't have the skill of hard thinking. And so we are offering that. We're also offering for people to overcome themselves. I often tell my students at the end of class, go find a mirror, stand there and look in it for an hour or two. Have the hardest conversation you've ever had with the hardest person you will ever talk to. Don't leave that mirror until you're a different person. I didn't have follow-ups to that, so I honestly can't tell you how many of them did it. But I know that some of them did because they came and told me how it went. And those were usually tearful interviews and tearful times when they would share very personal and beautiful things, how they were overcoming themselves, how they were overcoming traumas. I could talk for 6 hours. We are not going to do that. Super grateful you're here. like my wife Avernie said, you have done a fantastic job raising these people. By the way, they came to me as humans. That's why I can work with them. You did a good job.
Hey, that was awesome. Hi, it's amazing. Thank you all for coming. This is awesome. My name is Starla Lundberg, and I have 2 questions for you. First, do you believe that you can accomplish your goals and greatest dreams in life? And do you believe that you can change the world? These are just some of the questions I've been pondering this summer. And my wording with these questions is intentional. I said believe, because I believe that it comes down to our very belief that affects, if not determines, everything we do. Ken Patey, the founder of Growth Climate, said this: "Our minds are engineered to keep us acting totally consistent with our beliefs, whether they're consciously known or unknown." And if you've read the book As a Man Thinketh, you'll know that our minds, our thoughts, are extremely influential in our lives. So, throughout this summer, as I've pondered on some of the questions and statements that William has proposed, I've been reminded of the importance of belief and being able to know how to change a limiting belief into one that will be of benefit in the direction we want to pursue. So, whether I fully believed it before or not, I believe I can change the world. That we can all change the world. In fact, I believe we were meant to do so. There's a story of a man who was throwing starfish back into the ocean after a great storm had passed and washed thousands upon shore. There was another that came along and said, "You're not making any difference." The man replied, "It made difference for that one, and every one I throw in." See, the message of this story is that maybe you won't change the world as a whole, but maybe you can change the world for that one person to make it happier, healthier, more creative, and fulfilling, even if that one person is yourself. Like William said, at the beginning of summer, he asked us what we hate, and this would be, or at least lead us to, the societal problem we could help with. And I was one of those people that William said that I couldn't really think of anything that I hated. But after pondering on it, I found quite a few things. But one that I kept coming back to is disconnection. Disconnection from self, from others, from God, from emotion, from feeling, disconnection from meaning and purpose, from light, you name it. And I think quite a bit of this disconnection comes down to trauma. And to make it clear what I mean when I say trauma, I will quote Gabriel Mattei when he says, "Trauma is an inner injury, a lasting rupture or split within the self due to difficult or hurtful events. Trauma is primarily what happens within someone as a result of the difficult or hurtful events that befall them. It is not the events themselves. Trauma is not what happens to you, but what happens inside you." End quote. My belief is that connection with compassion, understanding, honesty, and self-awareness, among other things, is what will help us to move forward, to change, and to progress towards our goals and reap the great rewards of accomplishment and success in our lives. I'm brought back to the statement, united we stand, divided we fall. Being united brings about connection. It helps strengthen our relationships, which is a huge part of our society. William taught us that when we're mindfully evaluating our gardens and our land, to ask the question, why, and then ponder on the answer. During times of stress, discomfort, confusion, anger, fear, and so on, I've been taught to mindfully evaluate the why of what I'm feeling, to find the root problem, or in other words, the belief, and to work on the root problem rather than just a symptom of it. A few questions that I ask when I'm going through this process are things like, first, what am I feeling? You describe it, identify it, and put words to the emotion or emotions. Then what effect has it had on me? And what do I believe about this? Then my mind presents evidence in the form of memories or experiences to validate or invalidate the belief. Then begins the search for truth by asking first what the truth is, listening to the intuition that comes, and then aligning with that. Going through this process has helped me to progress in the direction I want to go by giving me a way to move past the limiting beliefs and allowing me to continually accomplish my goals and aspirations. I want to help others get what they truly want in life and to believe that they can. by supporting them through their healing process and giving them the tools to change the limiting beliefs that trauma has shaped. To do this, I'm going to continue my education in psychocybernetics and traumatology and combine this with getting certified in a few energy healing modalities. My message is this: we can move on from the past, be connected in the present, in the here and now, and look to the future with hope. So let's do it. Woo! The public school system was designed during the Industrial Revolution, a time era when convenience became more important to society than quality. Because of this, we created depersonalized institutions that demand compliance and squelch creativity. The Industrial Revolution, while very important for particular useful inventions, also created this factory model of education, this school model designed to create docile subjects and factory workers. This summer, we were asked to explore which societal need we are most passionate about addressing. I determined mine to be the crisis of the American education system. I was in the public school system the majority of my life. I was a good student according to their standards, yet during my freshman year of high school, I could clearly see that I was in a constant state of stress that would sustain me from one school assignment to the next. All the hard work I was putting into these school assignments felt of little value, and I felt empty inside. If the only thing that was important to schools was learning to obey rules and studying information well enough to pass a test, I knew there had to be a more meaningful way to learn. My desire brought me to my parents one day and asked to drop out, and much to my gratitude, they said yes. So my parents, younger sister, and I began our homeschool journey back in 2018. It was really scary at first, and we did not know what we were doing. We struggled to detox from the system we were so accustomed to. Yet those 3 years of learning at home were the best years of education of my life up to that point. It was in this phase of life that I came just to understand how critical good education is and just how much it is lacking today. So, therefore, I not only want to support the alternative schooling options that are already out there, I want to create a school of my own. A school where I would want my nieces and nephews and future children to learn. Who here is familiar with Louisa May Alcott's work titled Little Men? I first read this book in my first year of being homeschooled, and it instantly became a classic for me. In this book, Jo, or Josephine, one of the characters from Little Woman, fulfills her long-desired dream of starting a school for boys. The story in its entirety is a compilation of the adventures and life lessons that these students embarked on and learned. Because of the good nature of this book, it is one that I've reflected on again and again in the years since I've read it. And now that I'm toying with this idea of possibly creating a school, I wanted to draw out the principles of this school in Little Men and creating a plan for my own. Because we deserve a school like that today. We deserve a school that believes in creativity and exploration, art, fun, morals, manners. Thomas Jefferson stated, if the children, aka the future leaders of our country, if the children are untaught, their ignorances and vices will cost us much in their consequences than it would have by the correction of a good education. Good education has a greater and more far-reaching effect than we know or understand. If poor education is the major cause of the deterioration of our country, then my mission isn't only in restoring good education, it's in restoring hope for America. And I have 3 ways in how I hope to do this. Number 1, restoring American values. What is the definition of value? In the 1828 dictionary, it states that value is worth. The real value of a thing is its power or capacity of producing or procuring good, like how the value of land depends on its fertility, for example. The classics will be an integral part of our classroom because those have real value. What is a classic, you may ask? It is any handmade work that has and will stand the test of time because of the truths that it teaches. It can come in the form of literature, art, poetry, and music. Discussions on the classics will be abundant in our classroom. Number 2, restoring American land. America is not only declining economically, but ecologically as well. America is turning into a desert, but thanks to William and his instruction this summer, I hope to teach kids how to be good stewards of the land. Teach them the principles of Georgic, as William was talking about. As he said, Georgic is the management of whatever the land produces. It is the cultivation of that land as a whole, not just a piece of it. Teaching people to be ecologically literate gives them a sense of responsibility, purpose, and fulfillment. This principle can also be traced back to little men when Jo gave each of her little students a garden to tend in their time there, just like us students had the opportunity to do this summer. Based on how much I learned from my own garden these short few months, I know that teaching kids to take good care of the land is a critical principle. Number 3, restoring American families. The family is under attack. The adversary is trying to destroy families with malicious and targeted attacks. As a country, we have lost our sense of connection. More than ever, schools should be unifying families instead of dividing them, as they are doing now. We need to restore that sense of connection in our country again. Parents will be just as much a part of this school as the kids are. When they can, they should read the classics that we do. They should come to discussions. They'll watch their kids work in their gardens and sell the fruit of their labors. Community members will be able to impart the wisdom that they have. Local beekeepers and bakers, doctors, lawyers, businessmen, engineers, all kinds of wisdom offered to these kids. That's what we need. We need to be unified as families and as communities. My mission, my life mission, is to restore meaningful education. The name of the school in Little Men was called Plumfield. Reviews tore down the book after it was published, saying it was overly sentimental and idealistic. Critics called the end result charmingly impossible. I'm here to prove that such a good thing not only can be real, but we deserve it to be so. We deserve a Plumfield in our lives, for us, for our children. I want to create that school. If you are interested in following my journey through these next few years or have sources or connections which you think will contribute to my business, you can find me on Facebook or Facebook Messenger under my name, Brindley Chambers, or please come and find me afterwards and I can provide an email or phone number. Thank you so much.
Pa, Dakota asked, a shiver running up her spine. He reached out, feather-light fingers to touch her wet hair. Dakota flinched, instinct telling her to run. She couldn't smell any alcohol in his breath, and he was barely touching her. It was fine, right? Suddenly, there was a tightness in her chest that she recognized all too well. She needed to breathe, but she couldn't as long as he was this close. He played with her hair for a moment longer, finally letting it fall from his fingers. A wave of relief washed over her, followed closely by one of utter despair. She could breathe again, but that didn't mean she wasn't itching to escape. When did you get so big and grown up, Evie? Dakota's heart split, torn between the adrenaline urging her to bolt and her love for her papa. His treasured nickname for her made her wish more than anything that she could have her papa back. He had called her Evie, a shortened version of her middle name, ever since she was little. Everyone else called her Coda. She liked it that way. Hearing him say Evie was proof that Papa still loved her, even if it wasn't enough to make him give up drinking. She stayed frozen, wanting to bask in his small show of love. Watching his sad eyes, noticing the wrinkles around his face, her heart thumped in her ears. She wished that he loved her enough to change. I don't know, Papa, she answered quietly, a hot pain behind her eyes telling her she was about to cry. I guess it happened gradually. That was a lie. Hello, my name is Whitney Jensen, and I have just read to you an excerpt from the book that I'm currently writing. A book that I hope can change the world using communication. Communication is important. It's critical. If we weren't able to communicate with the people around us, our lives would be pretty miserable. Now, there are many forms of communication, but the most important one is words. Because we have words, we are able to communicate on a deeper level. We're able to understand and explain with depth and meaning. Words have a power. They have an impact on us. Whether we want to or not, when we read or listen to something, we learn something. Whether it's an ad telling us what product their company sells, or a book telling us all the different ways of how to cut an apple. We're always learning. Could be good, could be bad, but what do we want to be learning? What books do we want to be reading? Do we want to be reading good books that lift us up and make us better people, or books that drag us down and make it harder to stay positive? You see, there's a problem in our society. Modern authors have succumbed to the appeal of the world. They write dark and dirty stories that bring in the cash and dish out the drugs. They write and publish books to give the people what they want, but little do they know that what the people want is completely the opposite of what they need. We need books that inspire us to make our lives better, books that teach us life lessons we need to know to get through this tough life, not make it harder. I have read books that were good books, at least I thought they were, until I got to a scene that the author had thrown in there that was inappropriate, and I did not want to read a scene that ruined the book. I hate it when authors do that. I hate it when they ruin books like that. So I have a solution, because I don't want to read books that I hate. So I'm going to write and publish books that I want to read. I am currently in the process of writing and eventually publishing books. I love writing and creating worlds and stories and characters that aren't actually real, but they feel real. They go through very real trials and struggles, things that we can relate to. And as we get sucked into the characters' lives, we can laugh with them. We can cry with them. We can learn with them. Books are an outlet where we can gain experience without having to go through hard things ourselves. That's what my books are. A place where we can feel emotions and learn something important that can help us in our lives. A space where we can grow and learn, laugh and cry, and just be able to enjoy a good story that's inspiring. This is what I'm going to share with the world. Good books that we need. This is how I'm going to change the world. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Michael, and I love doing the sport Ninja Warrior. And if it got banned, I would still do it in my dreams. This summer, we made a 10-year vision of what our life looks like from the perspective of ourselves in the future. Basically making our future self a mentor. This summer, I realized the power and potential of dreaming big. So here is the now, 10 years from today. You're driving down the road, noticing people walking on the sidewalks. You're on your way to meet a friend you haven't seen in a decade. You park outside a building with a billboard next to it. The billboard talks about becoming a student, learning techniques that will transform you inside and out, turning you into a warrior, a ninja. You walk through the front door and see something rather interesting. A group of people practicing their skills on bars, on balance beams, and doing handstands. The ones not doing that were going through a parkour course, hanging from bars to cliffhangers, then wheels in the air. They swung, and then they ran up a warp wall and hit the buzzer. But the weirdest part is their costumes. They all look bald. It's just the costumes, but they still look funny. Despite that, you notice how much they're enjoying it. Some of them even have smiles on their faces. On the wall, there are medals, even Olympic ones. A plaque beside it says, "Hearing the Unheard Will Change Your Life," by Michael Earl. There are a few books by this Michael person about that as well as other topics. You notice there are inspirational quotes with characters in crazy outfits and fun art behind them. One of them catches your eye. It's a bald man with a cape. The sign reads above the inspirational quote, "Take the One Punch Man course today. Sign up at the front desk." So, that must be the class that's going on, you hear yourself saying. You walk up to the front desk, and a kind lady greets you, asking you to wait a few more minutes in order to talk with Michael. You wait patiently until the class is over. Then you see a 10-year-old and his dad talking excitedly. Suddenly, the kid runs over to you. He says, "You wouldn't believe it. That kid over there qualified for the hardest class. It's unbelievable. Someday, I'm planning to be there too." And Michael says, "One of the keys to success, growth, and being a hero is to be excited for all my friends' improvement." You think, why isn't he jealous of his friend? He seems more excited for his friend than I am when I go on vacation. You walk over to Michael and say your name. Michael responds, "Oh, it's you. I remember you. You were at graduation all those years ago." "Mm-hmm," you say. "That's me." You ask, "What made you choose this?" Michael responds, "In the Georgic schoolroom years ago, we identified a problem with society, something we disliked. A problem that stood out to me was gossip and people who don't have a chance to talk. My solution was to bring people to the present by being mindful and building an environment for growth and support. That's why I chose what I did, to help people trust each other more and feel heard and be less likely to gossip." Michael then asks you a question. What does it mean to be born to do something? Were you born to do a specific task here on earth? It's a question you think is worth pondering. You nod your head and mentally store the question to ask yourself later. You then ask, "How did you make it?" Michael responds, "I haven't. I've got a long way to go. This is just a stepping stone that is helping me on my way." You ask, "But how did you not give up?" Michael answers, "Every time you go and get groceries, you might get in a car accident and not make it. But you still go because you have a destination, a path." Well, my path, if I don't make it, I don't even die. To me, following my dreams is just as important as going to the grocery store. And so, I arrived at my grocery store. This is a call to action for you to find and achieve what you feel is right. And if you want to follow my journey and support me, you can find me on Instagram. It's Gliding Ninja. Thank you.
I'm sweating a lot, so probably going to be sweating out of my eyes pretty soon. Just a little more loveliness. And everyone, this is pretty good. Hi! It's so good to see all of your faces and to see the loved ones of my loved ones, and I hope to talk with you guys more after all of this and get to know you. And I'm really thankful that you're here to listen to our heart truths and to receive us. These are some of my favorite people in the whole world. Already happening. I have come to know myself so much more this summer. I think that all of us have found ourselves in different ways this summer. And for me, I found a sanctuary here. This place is loving and real and true. And I'm so grateful to have been here, because there was a time in my life where I tried not to let anything mean anything to me. And as you can tell, I'm a crier, but there was a point when I wasn't, and I refused to let myself cry, because I thought that would make it better. That ache that we feel in this life, the everything that we feel in every moment, and then that everything leaves and it dies and it's gone. That's so painful. And it's a lot like the missing of these wonderful people that I'm going to feel in just 24 hours. A lot of people are like me in that they don't want to let things matter to them. And they don't want to feel the ache. They don't want to cry. People who are enslaved, human trafficking victims, people who are abused within their relationships, within their workspaces, people who go on with their day and they do what they've done every day and they don't really know why anymore. That's what I hate. I hate the waste of feeling, of letting things matter to us, because we all have it in us. There's so much in each of you. There's a huge heart that's waiting to be discovered more and more every day. There's so much of you. And I don't want that to waste away. So I'm going to build a sanctuary, very much inspired by this place and the moments that have stayed with me in my life, the people that I love, and the books that have changed my world. This sanctuary will be full of playing and growing food and upcycling, which, if you don't know what that means, like making waste into something that is beautiful and useful and lovely. It's going to be filled with running around and laughing and connecting with one another and knowing who you are and using your spirit and your body to do what you're meant to do, to feel the meaning that is inherent. This is what I love. And I love you guys. I love you guys so much. Thank you.
You are human. And as a human, no matter how cool you were unable to care for yourself when you were born. So you had no other option than to receive that which was given to you by your environment. But then you grew, and as you grew, so did your capacities as a human. And you learned how to build bridges of cooperation between your capacities as a human and what was given to you in your home environment. You're able to use these bridges of cooperation to reach higher and higher degrees of development and being. Until eventually you got to the point where you could sustain yourself, both inside and outside of your home. And suddenly, the familiarity, the security of having your needs provided for you at home, while helpful in one stage of life, is now a hindrance in the next. And so, in the name of development and progression of being, it was time for you to expand your horizons, to become a pioneer on the frontier of your own life. It's time for you to engage in the process of becoming, not by staying at home where life is easy, but by establishing a new home out there where life is hard, by building it on bridges and foundations of ever-increasing cooperation between your capacities as a human and what would be given to you out in the world. And if you're lucky, you always have the original home to go back to for both the hard times and the good. Now, what's true for you as a human is true for humanity in general. Namely, that one way or another, we emerged into this cradle of life we call planet Earth, and we were able to grow as a species. We had our needs sufficiently met such that we're able to grow in both quantity and capacity. And we've reached the point as a species where we're more than able to sustain ourselves in our home planet. And so in the name of development and progression of being, it's time for us to expand our own horizons and become pioneers of a new frontier, of the final frontier. It's time for us to establish new homes of self-sustaining life on other celestial bodies, like Mars, like Venus, and other places eventually. But for now, and especially, we gotta live on the moon. And so, every effort must be made to preserve and restore, to beautify and sanctify our home, planet Earth. Because it is our home. It is that which has been given to us, and is that which we'll come back to for both the hard times and the good. But ours is also the time when we must engage in the process of becoming, not only by staying at home, where sustaining life is easy, but by establishing new homes of self-sustaining life out there, where life is hard. Now is the time to build those new homes on the foundations of ever-increasing cooperation between our capacities as a species and that which will be given to us in other celestial bodies like the moon. Now, me personally in my own life, I've been given many good things, which I've done nothing to deserve. And for that, I'm ever grateful. Sometimes, though, you just resonate with the feeling of having been handed a big pile of crap, of detritus, of scraps, and leftovers. And it's up to you to make the best with what you got. And so in that vein, I, Christian Howell, am going to establish a composting business to turn trash into treasure. I'm going to scale that business to profitability. I'm going to use that profit to fund the research and development of a generally applicable composting system. And I'm going to use that composting system in both the restoration and beautification of my home, planet Earth, and to aid in the expansion of our horizons and capacities as a species by helping to sustain life on other celestial bodies like the moon. Composting, turning trash into treasure, is an integral part of building bridges of cooperation between your capacities as a species, as a human, and that which is given to you. And so, if you find those things interesting, come talk to me afterwards. If you don't find those things interesting, come talk to me afterwards. So we can get you interested. Either way, however it is for you, thank you.
Hey, my name is Ella Lyman, and I come from London, Utah. And this summer has been really good. I've learned so many things. But I think the thing that I've learned most is that we have an option and we can choose to be healthy. I used to think that just being alive is part of just, we had to be sick. Because most people I saw around me were sick. But this summer I've learned that if we're intentional about the foods that we eat, we can actually be healthy. So the problem is the food that is available to us in the grocery stores. First of all, it's grown in poor soils and grown to maximize the amount of food rather than the quality of food. And then they ship it off to the grocery stores, which means the longer it goes before being eaten, it loses nutrition. So we end up with food that is just really not have the things that we need for our body to be healthy. Even if you're purchasing non-GMO or organic, even if you eat from a health food store, it's the same dilemma. You're going to get unhealthy food. And so the answer to this is we need to grow our own food if we want to be healthy. We need to learn the methods of creating a good soil that grows healthy plants that give us the maximum nutrition. And we need to teach others how to do that too. And so this summer I'm going home. This next summer I'm going home. And I'm gonna start helping my neighbors with their gardens and teaching them how to improve their soil. I'm gonna help my family learn how to grow things in their greenhouses and how to grow food for my own family. And we're gonna try to create a community of people who want to grow their own food and who want to be healthy. Because the options in blending are not that good. We don't even have very much produce to choose from in the first place. So I'm really excited that we get to take control of our health, take control of our food, and that we have the option to be healthy. For those of you who feel like you're too busy to grow your own food, there's still options. Of course, one of the best options is getting your own education so that you can grow your own food. But if you don't have the time, you can find people who can get that education and grow food for you, like William has done with the Soaring Food Factory. And I'm hoping that in my future, I'm going to be able to grow food for other people, like William has done. So I encourage you all to learn about how to grow nutritious food and to take control of your health and know that you can be healthy.
Hi, my name is Becky Rader. A few weeks ago, I was thinking about how much needless suffering that there is in the world, and I hate it. And I was out working in my garden, and I was thinking about these things, and suddenly I heard the tiniest little voice. I looked side to side, and I'm not seeing anyone, I looked down, and there I found to whom the voice belonged. It was a little lemon cucumber. "Listen, listen, listen to me," she pleaded. "Oh, won't you please listen?" At this time, I had been ignorant to the ways of the garden folk, for I did not know that fruit could speak. They don't teach you that in Plant Science 101, which is a grave mistake. But nonetheless, though bewildered, I nodded, and the cucumber told me her story. And this was the story she told. Once upon a time, a baby girl was born. This baby girl was very special. She was tall and kind, but this isn't why she was special. She was special because she cared about everyone, people and animals alike, and she had an independent streak like no one could imagine. Helping Mom in the kitchen, she thought it downright insulting that Mom made her hold a teaspoon of vanilla over the bowl, like she would ever spill anything as special as vanilla. So what if she had to stand on a chair to reach the bowl? Like this, the little girl grew, and so did her independence, and so did her compassion. I must tell you at this point that I was getting a little suspicious because that little girl sounded like someone I knew. The cucumber continued. She went through hard times, and people telling her that she was never enough. Others still told her to be reasonable, to be practical. And each time, those words fell like a silent fetter on her heart. Then one day, a wise white-haired farmer said to the girl, "You are free. You can take those shackles off now. Those people that told you those things were hurting themselves. Forgive them and move on." The little girl cried each time a shackle dropped, but guess what? She grew stronger each time she cried. Isn't that funny? Then the little girl wasn't so little anymore. She went on lots of adventures, and with all the things that she learned from her adventures, she started a ranch. On the ranch, she taught others how to garden, to bake bread, and to provide for themselves off of the land. She taught them that they too could be free. Once her story was finished, the little cucumber looked at me with anticipation. I say that sounds like an amazing person. The cucumber giggles. She is amazing, but don't you get it? That girl is you. How can that be? I've never done that before. If you would like to know the end of this story, talk to me afterwards, and I will tell you. But for now, I'll tell you about my ranch. I will create a space for individuals and families to gather and live while they heal from life's traumas. This will be a safe space for everyone to learn the skills they need to be self-sufficient. Quote, knowledge makes a man unfit to be a slave, close quote. I believe that we do live in a world that is enslaving its own people. And I want people to be free from that. I want people to let go of the pains that they are dealing with and to be free. And that is my mission. Thank you.
Hello. Hi. I know him. Hello. Wow, I see so many people here. I know some of you, and I don't know some of you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Eve Levi. And come talk to me after. I'd love to get to know you better. Hold on. I would like to share with you today something real. And it's an experience I had this year, and it starts with a boy who lost hope. Isaac Holt was a goofy, car-loving kid who loved making people laugh. He had blonde, curly hair, and he did well in school, and was well liked by his peers and looked up to by his peers and friends. But you see, Isaac struggled with depression. And though surrounded by people, he often felt very alone. In February of this year, at the age of 16, Isaac Holt took his own life. 2 months later, William asks us the question at the beginning of this class, what do you hate? I told him that I hate feeling alone and when others feel alone. You see, the truth is, everyone feels alone or has felt alone at one point in their life. And everyone could use a friend. See, the funny thing about when a friend shares with you their feelings of feeling alone or unlovable is almost all of us automatically want to tell them that they are not alone, that they are lovable. And logically that's true, but those feelings are not logical, they're emotional. People need to be shown love. Words can only take you so far. One of my favorite writers, me, once said, you can't change anybody. You can only be who you are. So I'm going to start with being who I am. So who am I? So who am I? What does that look like? 1, sparking the light. Being someone who looks for the beauty in others and searches for the light in their eyes and what lights up what makes them smile and tries to make that happen. Being who you are is contagious, and when you allow yourself to be your wonderful, imperfect, beautiful self, then you are in a way allowing other people to have that space as well to be themselves. And breaking the silence means asking questions. There are individuals all around us who have things to say, and they are worth listening to. I feel less alone when someone walks up to me and asks a genuine question about myself. So that brings me to 2, which is listen. Listening could mean the difference between encouraging the silence to continue and breaking it. I want to know the secret about people who tend to be more quiet and introverted? They actually have the most interesting and funny things to say. And if you make space for that, life gets better and more humans feel less alone. One more thing about Isaac's story. Something wonderful happened after he died. Kids, teenagers who had never felt more alone in their entire life and never felt more hopeless got together within a couple of days, within a couple of hours, and they showed love, and they reached out, and they listened, and friendships were strengthened because people chose to break that silence and to spread hope. In a place of hurt where things felt hopeless and dark, I was able to pull the opposite out of it. I was able to pull the message that hope is not lost and the silence can be broken. 3, I choose to love loudly. So loudly that it drowns out the thoughts and lies that say you are alone and unlovable. So loudly that it breaks the silence. I believe that people are wonderful. I believe that every individual soul has a beauty so bright and amazing. And I believe that beauty is worth discovering and worth breaking the silence for. My name is Eve Levi, and I am going to change the world. This is my message. I will walk with you, and I will talk with you, and I will listen to you, and I will give you all my love. Thank you.
Hello. What makes a good man? There are hundreds of things that we could list that make up a good man, but for me, a line from one of my favorite books sums it up well. Damn it. Wasn't supposed to cry, Ed. A man is someone who, quote, has given of himself, of what little he has and is, to bring smiles and joy of living to others along his way, close quote. My name is Peter Jenkins, and my mission is to help boys become men. I have discovered there is a lack of good men in today's world, and that upsets me. When William asked what makes us mad, what we hate most, that was one of the first things that came to my mind. Not enough good men. Men who have a drive and a passion for life and living. Men who treat women with love and respect. Men of God. This is something that I want to remedy. How do boys learn to be men? They learn to be men from watching the men in their lives, from seeing good examples, from imitating. They learn by watching their fathers and the other father figures in their lives and the other role models in their life, by working beside them, by walking in their footsteps, literally and figuratively. Now, 200 years ago, this was common in families. Boys had to help their dads with the family farm. They had to be able to help the family. They had to be able to help provide for the family. If they didn't work, they didn't have as much food. So they worked with their father. They worked beside him. They worked with him. And they probably worked with other men in their community. But they had those good examples. Because of this, in their early teens, they were able to run the family farm. There's probably a few things that they still didn't have the swing of, but more or less they could provide for the family at a very young age. So that when they're older, when they're in their early 20s, they were able to run a farm of their own and to raise their own family. In today's world, this is not as common. Boys today spend most of their time at public school with their friends and playing video games. As a result, the men that they interact with most in their life tend to be the teachers at school and the characters in their video games. They don't know how to take care of a family. They don't work with their fathers. They don't have the courage or drive to even start their own family until much later in life, if ever. This is a problem, one that I am not okay with. No one wants their son to grow up and live in their basement playing video games till late in his 30s. I don't want my sons to do that. So, how do we solve this problem? I'm sure there's hundreds of different ways that we could go about addressing this, but the way that I want to address it is with a ranch. A couple of years ago, I was able to spend a summer or two on a ranch, and it was one of the most healing and beautiful and incredible experiences of my life. I watched something beautiful happen that I had not witnessed very much prior to this experience. I watched the father of this family take his children, his boys, and work with them. They'd go out into the mountains and irrigate. They'd saddle up the horses and they'd ride out with him to move the cattle. They'd drive the tractor around with him. They would work side by side with him. And it was incredible to watch that. I loved this interaction that they had. And this is something that I want to provide for not only my sons, but for the boys that come to my ranch. I want to have a summer program for boys to come to. I want to bring boys that are between the ages of 16 and 18 years old, and I want to give them an opportunity to grow up and to be men. Over the course of the summer, they're going to do lots of different things. They're going to have the opportunity to learn how to do things like chop wood, how to care for, saddle up, and ride horses, how to care for and work with livestock, like goats, sheep, pigs, cows, chickens, and pigs. They're going to have the opportunity to learn how to put up hay. And that includes driving the tractors, throwing hay bales on a trailer, taking those hay bales to a hay barn, and stacking them. They're going to learn how to garden. They're going to learn how to plant seeds and water and weed and harvest. They're going to have opportunities to clean, to cook. They're going to learn how to study, and especially study the things that interest them most. All of these things are going to provide them opportunities not just to have these skill sets, but it's going to help them become men. Men who can provide for a wife and children. Men who understand the sanctity of life. Men who will treat women with love and respect. Men who will give of themselves and what little they may have to lift others and help them along their way. Men who put God first and follow in his footsteps. Good men, men of God. This is my project and my mission. Thank you.
In hindsight, it was a poor decision to sit behind Eve and Peter. My name is Abigail Jenkins. I am married to this wonderful man, Peter. And I love farmers markets. So when I was little, I started a bread business. And last year at my speech, some of you may have heard my project. But I am an entrepreneur, and I love hearing stories of how people can, like Jared said, take something and make it better, make it useful, make it valuable. And whether that's a service or a product. And so I love the farmers market because that's where a lot of my friends who take something like a beehive and then they harvest honey from it and then they share it with their community, or take something like flour and they make bread out of it and then they share it with their community. They take something like soil and they plant seeds in it and then they bring corn and melons and pumpkins to a farmer's market and they share it with their community. This last year, it was actually last winter, I was talking to one of my friends who makes honey actually,
he harvests honey and then he provides it for other people. And he was talking about how hard it is to be a small business owner and how it's really hard to compete with kind of like the big industrial people that are creating honey by the gallons and gallons and gallons, and how it's been hard to sustain his business. And what broke my heart was he was talking about how he might give up. He's like, maybe I should just go get a desk job. I don't know if this is worth it. This is really hard. I feel really alone. I feel so like this is just so hard. Like I'm the only one doing this. And it broke my heart because he's not the only one. And like Eve said, sometimes I wanted to tell him like, you're not alone. I love you. You got this. But I realized that, you know, a lot of us feel alone, especially when we're trying to live our dreams, especially in the society that we have, because we have things, people to provide for. We have to create things, and we have to get a paycheck, right, to live. And sometimes that can be a burden instead of a joy. And so this is what I hate. I hate it when people feel like they can't live their dreams and they get discouraged. And so I thought about it, and I was like, you know, I have so many amazing friends who are creating value. I have so many amazing friends who are living their dreams, or at least trying to, and they feel alone. What if we like had a get together, you know, like we all came together and we shared our stories and we shared our products, we shared our dreams, and we shared what we were learning, and we shared our struggles, and we felt less alone because we were together. So I decided I'm going to start a conference. I'm going to start a get-together, a family get-together where all my friends can come and meet each other and bring their friends, and I can meet their friends. And then we're going to share our products. I can share about bread. People can share about bees. People can share about schools that they're going to start. And I was like, that'd be so cool. It'd be like a family reunion. It would be so cool. Like we would all have friends and we would make more friends. And so I'm going to do it. I'm going to start a conference. I don't have a name for it. I don't have dates yet, but I want to start it next year. And I want people to be able to come. And at this conference, we're going to do 3 things. There's going to be 3 different activities. We're going to have time to socialize and meet each other and share who we are, and we're going to have opportunities for my friends and people to give speeches about who they are, what their business is, things that they've learned. We're going to have classes like marketing courses and communication classes and things that can help improve our lives as business people and as members of a community. And after that, we're going to have meals and we're going to have a market. And everyone is going to have a table and share their product or share their service or share who they are. And we're going to have a family reunion. And it's going to be so amazing, and I'm really excited. And he taught an entrepreneurial course, or he taught us a class on entrepreneurship. And I've had the privilege of helping to mentor and teach these amazing students this year. And we've talked a lot about entrepreneurship. And one of the things that Jared said was, you know, we're all on a journey in life, and there's ups and downs, and there's all kinds of highs and lows, and we can go at it alone, we can go slow, or we can go at it together and go quicker. And I think to add to that, not just faster, not just quicker, but we can reach our destinations and live our dreams together. We can also make it more meaningful, and we won't be alone. So this is my mission. This is who I am. If you want to come talk to me about it, please come talk to me. And I started an email list. So if you guys want to be on my email list for the events that we're going to do, come find me and I'll put you on the list. And the last thing that I wanted to say was make sure to talk to these students. I know you guys have to go home and you got to travel and stuff like this, but make sure you get a chance to talk to your students and talk to these people because they're incredible, as you've already seen. So thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the speeches. I'm really touched by how different we are all. I like you guys. My name is Rebecca Celeste, and when I was in college a few years ago, I was studying about 30 books a summer, and I was at a liberal arts college. And so I was getting a classical liberal arts education over lots of subjects and learning things about how the world works. And I really liked it. It really filled a space inside of me. And as I began to be near the end of my time there, I started to feel some discontent because I wanted something. I wanted to learn something specific, something that I could do, something that I was really good at, that I could help other people with. And I've sat with that discontent for a while. And yesterday, I was sitting in my room with Abby, and I was looking at this jar of flowers on my desk, and I realized that I already have it. And it's this, I'm holding it. This is calendula. It's a medicinal herb, and it's really good for the skin. And last year, I had a friend who gave me a salve that she had made out of calendula, and I was using it on cuts and scrapes, and I used it on, my lips were chapped pretty badly, and I used it on those, and the next morning I was really surprised because my lips felt really weird because the skin was healing. And I actually stopped using my other salve that I made for the skin because that one worked way better, and it was so cool. And so I've really loved learning about things like this that help the body. And a few years ago, when I was first starting to learn about herbs and their medicinal qualities, I read a book called An Herbal Legacy of Courage. And it was about the life of a man who spent his career being an herbal doctor. And I was so inspired by the stories of his life and how he helped people. And through all of our speeches today, you've heard of the different ways that there's suffering in this world. There's gossiping, and there's embarrassment, and there's emotional pain, and there's tragedies that happen. And if you're alive, you have problems at some point with your body. And there's disease, and sometimes accidents happen. If you have kids, sometimes you don't know what happened, but there's something that we need to take care of. And so from the beginning, learning about herbs, I have been really intrigued by how much there is that we can do at home and how much money it can save and how easy it can be. Now, if you've ever heard someone say that math is easy, I usually laugh at them. I'm like, yeah, math is easy if you know how to do it. And it can be similar with herbs because, at least for me, when I started learning about it, it can get confusing because there's so many things that calendula does, and every plant. And so that's why I have started a business. That's what I've been working on this year in my year 2 class here. And it's called Rebecca's Herb Garden. And what I'm doing is next January, I'm going to start teaching workshops on how to use herbs. And so what I'm going to do is take you from seed to salve and show you the whole process of how to plant and how to grow. And William DeMille is going to be zoomed in for a section on soil health principles. And I'm going to teach you how to, and when to harvest and how to preserve them. And then I'm going to show how to make the different types of medicine, how to make a poultice, how to make a tincture and a salve, and how to use it as well. So I'm going to focus on about 5 herbs to keep it simple. And we're going to make, through the process of the workshop, about 5 different products. And they will pretty well cover all of the basic needs for a first aid kit. So by the end of the workshop, you will have your very own herbal first aid kit to take home with you. That's included in the price of the course. And so how this works is I need someone who wants to host me and have
is able to have me and a group of people in your home to have the class, and who is able to bring a group of friends who also want to take the class. So if this sounds like you, if you want me to come to your community and teach you about medicinal herbs and how to use them, then please come find me and we can arrange it. And this is Rebecca's Herb Garden. And I have been able to pull this all together this summer as my hands have been in the soil and my heart has been singing to heaven and my feet have been planted in the Georgic tradition. Thank you.
Abby and Becca, come over here. Becca and Abby were students here last year, and they graduated, and they came back this year to help me. And they were both also year 2 students here, writing the business plans, which you heard about today. And they taught classes while they were here. So here's the mic.
All right, I mentioned a little bit about entrepreneurship, but we had an inspired leadership on entrepreneurship class. And so for their graduation, we're giving them a certificate of recognition and completion, and it reads as following. We recognize you as one who has participated in the exploration of the stories of great men and women who have changed the world with a dream, their personal skills, and the tools that they had to achieve them. And we celebrate your embarkment on your own journey of life-changing leadership.
The class I taught this year was an introduction to herbal medicine, and the certificate reads, Certificate of Completion. This award is in recognition that Starla Shine has completed the 2024 Georgic Schoolroom course, Introduction to Herbal Medicine, in recognition of your discovery of the world of medicinal plants and their uses in healing the body. This certifies that you have gained inspiration and skill in the following: identification, cultivation, and harvesting of medicinal plants, creation and use of herbal tinctures, oils, and salves.
I had 4 students in my year 2 class this year. You guys come over here. You know who you are. This reads, the Georgic Schoolroom, year 2, 2024. For academic and husbandry studies with an emphasis in entrepreneurial skills to meet current community needs, business planning, personal development, and leadership development. And for our year 1 students, we have 10 of those here this year. And this reads, Certificate of Graduation from the Georgic Schoolroom 2024. This diploma is proudly awarded to Michael Paul Earl. This certificate is awarded for successful completion of year 1 of the 17-week Georgic Schoolroom, Clover Valley, Nevada. Introduction to husbandry in regenerative agriculture, ecological agriculture, permaculture, silvopasture, and biodynamics.
Come here, Rebecca. The other Rebecca.
What's your name again?
Dollar sign. Whitney.
Oh, follow me.
Mari. Kristen. Did everybody get one?
Yep.
That's always the scary part.
Okay, everybody get a certificate and hold it up, and somebody take some epic pictures, because this is our opportunity.
Hold up any certificate, we don't care.
Sorry. Charlotte's our.
Take pictures and send them to us. We're gonna need them.
Charlotte always steals the show. I love her. Woohoo! You guys rock!
5 seconds to finish your pictures. Okay, this is the Georgic Schoolroom 2024. You guys are done. Go change the world.